Hi, my name is Aya, you're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to do a new releases fantasy romance vlog. So one of my goals this year is to read more fantasies and more fantasy romances or romantasies. And another goal is to read more new releases, so I figured let's combine the two and do a vlog. So in this video, I'll be reading 3 new release fantasy romances. The first one will be A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. The second book will be Lore of the Wilds by Analeigh Sbrana. And the third book will be The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. So very excited about all of them. And I will cut to the vlog. And as always, I will give you my synopsis while I'm reading them. So I really hope you enjoyed this vlog, and definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did. And let's cue to the vlog. I am currently on page 299 of A Fate Inked in Blood. So I was actually in London this weekend and I brought this one along. And to be honest, I honestly thought that I would be finished by now because I had about a 4-hour train ride to London and then obviously a 4-hour train ride back. So 8 hours at least in total to read this book. But I don't know, for some reason I just can't read hours and hours on end. Like I need a little bit of a break in between. But A Fate Inked in Blood is about this woman who's married to this awful man, and then one day she actually gets betrayed by him, and she gets revealed as this shield maiden. And her father always told her that she needed to keep that secret at whatever cost. When she gets revealed as this shield maiden, she realizes why, because there was a prophecy that whoever controlled the shield maiden would be like king of this land. So this is a Norse setting, and there's like Norse gods and Norse mythology and stuff like that. So the Jarl, I guess, Jarl of this place marries her to control her, and therefore that will solidify him as becoming king. But he has a very, very, very handsome son, and she has amazing chemistry with him, and even though she's married to his father, they might actually be perfect for each other. So I'm really enjoying this book. I do love Danielle L. Jensen's writing style. I love her character development. To be honest, at first I was not very sure about this romance because she was talking about how he was the one that she trusted most, and I couldn't really see why. I mean, I could see it comparing him to everybody else that she was with, but him on his own, I just couldn't understand why he was so special, apart from the fact that he was very hot. But now that I'm like around page 300, where I'm like 3/4 of the way through, I am really sensing the chemistry, and I am really shipping them, and I am enjoying their romance. I do enjoy this world that she set up, but I am interested to see like what like the story will be here. So far, not a whole lot of action has taken place. I mean, there is action, but I just don't really see where this is going. And one thing that is kind of bothering me is this Jarl that is her husband. His name is Snorri. And that is just, I cannot take him seriously because the way you write it, the first part of his name, so Snor, S-N-O-R, in Dutch means mustache. So I keep constantly laughing at that name because like for me, every time I read, I'm like mustachy every time. So I just cannot take him seriously. He's supposed to be this like important man, and I just keep laughing at his name. But like I said, I am enjoying it. I started this on Thursday and right now it's Monday. And when I was in London, I spent the majority with my friends, and we were doing fun things. So if it wasn't for the fact that I was in London spending time with my friend, I would have already finished this by now. And I'm very intrigued to see how this one will end. I'm not sure on my rating right now because throughout like the first half, I was like, okay, this is probably gonna be a 4. I don't think it could get a 5. But now that the relationship is starting to get developed, I am leaning a little bit more towards the 5 stars. So we'll see. I guess I'll just update you once I'm finished with my full thoughts. So like I said, for now it's a 4, and it could get either a 4.5 or a 5. I don't think this will get less than a 4 from me because I am really enjoying it. And when I pick it up, I am reading it pretty quickly, and I am intrigued while I'm reading it, and I am intrigued by the romance. So I have about 100 pages left. Hopefully I can finish it tonight, although I don't think I can. Tomorrow I have to work. So hopefully tomorrow I can finish it, and then I'll give you my full thoughts. So I finished A Fate Inked in Blood a couple days ago. I really enjoyed it. I do have to say I gave it 4 stars. Mainly the romance just wasn't my favorite. This really reminded me of The Serpent and the Wings of Night in a lot of ways. And also my feelings about it were similar, about the romance. Since this is a fantasy romance, I do have to love the romance part as equally as I did the fantasy part. And in this case, I preferred the plot and the fantasy over the romance, so it cannot be 5 stars in that case. While I was writing my Goodreads review, I was thinking, what is it about this romance that makes me not love it as much as I did the Bridge Kingdom? Because I did really, really love that romance. And I think, at least this is my theory, I think the reason for that is the Bridge Kingdom was dual point of view. You got both Aaron and Laura's point of view, whereas in this case, this book is single point of view. You only get Freya's point of view. So I didn't really understand why Bjorn fell in love with her, especially since she was so volatile and so up and down, which has a reason, which is explained in this book. But I just feel like a character like that is pretty hard to fall in love with because you don't know what is her true self. And even though we did get her point of view, he was fine. I didn't get that giggly feeling, and I just didn't really fall in love with him the way she fell in love with him, which I do get with some main male characters. I did really love the world she set up. I love this Norse Viking setting she created, and I did like the ending because it does make me excited to read the sequel, which I don't know when that will come out, but I will be reading that as soon as it's in my hand. It was very easy for me to fly through this book. I was enjoying reading it. I do have to say I was reading it while I was in London, so there was a lot of going on, and obviously I was there with my friend, and when we were out and about, I wasn't reading because I wanted to spend time with my friend since I don't get to see her that often since she lives in London. But while there were moments where I had nothing to do or she was doing something else, I could read, and it was very easy for me to pick it back up and get sucked into the story again. Since this is called Saga of the Unfated, I do believe that maybe she'll do the same thing as she did with the Bridge Kingdom, have it be different duologies, because I do think that the sequel to this book will be a direct sequel to this book, but maybe we'll get other point of views, like maybe we'll get other books from different point of views, but we'll see. Overall, I would recommend it. It's a solid fantasy romance, and I do think that if you really, really loved Serpent and the Wings of Night, you might really enjoy this book as well, since my problems with it and the problems with the romance were pretty similar. But I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. Like I said, it's a solid fantasy romance. Danielle L. Jensen really does know how to write fantasy romance, so I would definitely recommend it. I'm currently reading Lore of the Wilds, and I'm on page 92. I was supposed to read a little bit more yesterday, but I was kind of distracted by YouTube videos and I was a little bit tired. I keep saying, but this is one of my favorite covers ever. I think it's gorgeous. So this book, you follow Lore, who lives in a world where fae exist and they're very, very powerful. And she's a human, and humans live in these towns full of humans who have to give tithes and give a lot of money to the fae, which means the human cities are very poor. And she's just living her life, transcribing books and also making candles. And her family's very poor, but like I said, every human family is pretty poor. And then one day, the fae come to her house and they request her aunt, but she goes instead. And they want her to go to this library in the fae world where fairies cannot enter. So they need a human to enter and get books out for them and clean up this whole library. So she gets recruited for that, and she does. And in the meanwhile, she falls in love with this guard named Asher. And I believe there's another character involved, maybe the Fae Prince, but we haven't seen a whole lot of him yet, so he hasn't shown up yet. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I love the fact that, obviously, these are all Black characters, and I love how she's thrust in this new setting, and she has like real issues with her hair that is very frizzy because she doesn't have her hair cream that she usually uses. I love how that is a thing in here, because usually, like, I sometimes think about that, where characters are just thrown in like fantasy settings and you're like, how do you even like shave your legs or stuff like that, you know, like like maintenance things, like how does that work? Whereas in this case, I do enjoy the fact that she does struggle with her hair because usually she has stuff for that and now she doesn't. I am enjoying the romance. I like their banter already with her and Asher. There was this scene where he took her to this, like, his secret hiding place that I enjoyed. Like I said, so far I'm like 1/3 of the way through. I don't know for sure how I feel about it yet. And I'm not sure if this is young adult or adult, because I believe she's older than 18, which, I mean, that still can be classed as young adult. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts right now. I do enjoy the main character and I do enjoy the love interest so far. Although right now she's just been going to this library and like cleaning things up. Like not a whole lot is happening so far. We haven't seen a lot of the world yet, obviously, but there is a map. So maybe we will get to travel through like the Empire. So we'll see. Like I said, so far I'm enjoying it, and it is like I am flying through this book. Like when I pick this book up, it is very easy for me to read. I am flying through it, and even if it's young adult, this does remind me a little bit of when I used to read a lot of young adult fantasies, because it does feel familiar to me in that aspect. But I guess, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts right now. I will tell you my full thoughts once I finish this book. So I'm on page 224 of 335, so almost 100 pages left of Lore of the Wild, and I'm deciding to DNF it. I know I am so close to the end. I've already read 2/3 of it, but I am so not into this book, and I don't really want to force myself to read it just for it to end up a 2-star. Like I could, but since this is a debut novel and this book already has a pretty low rating, and not that that matters. Like I could have finished it and given it 2 stars and that would be fine too. It just, first of all, I don't want to waste my time. I'm just not enjoying it. And I have been reading this book for a couple days now and nothing in me wants to continue. So, and I also, like if I can avoid shitting on this author, then I will, considering like I said, she's a debut author. Okay, so first of all, I read some 1 and 2 star reviews, which I probably shouldn't have done. Like I shouldn't have done that because that just made me not want to pick this book up even more. But before reading those reviews, I was already not really enjoying it. I know my first update was pretty positive, and I was pretty positive. And when I got about halfway through, I realized nothing really was happening. This book is both fast-paced in all the wrong moments, but then meandering and at other moments. So I feel like she focuses on things that don't matter and rushes through things that do matter. Also, this is a nitpicky thing, but once I focus on it, I just cannot stop. I don't like modern terminology for things we use in a contemporary setting in this historical leaning fantasy world. I just don't like that. It just takes me out of the story. Also, the insulove is rampant here. And so far, we've only really seen her interact with one of the guys, this guy. So I'm assuming the last 100 pages, we're gonna see her interact with like another hero, which I don't know how she's gonna do that because the first one is not developed enough. So how is she gonna develop and make us care for the second love interest? I don't think that's possible. So therefore I'm just cutting my losses. But talking about this hero, this man risked his life for a girl he barely knows, which makes no sense in the world. Like if I was his mom, I'd be so fucking disappointed in him. Like I truly did not understand. Like they had one nice interaction at this garden, but other than that, I don't know why these two like each other except for looks, I guess. And this book had no world building. And let me tell you, a map does not a world building make, because yes, it does have a map, but I could not tell you anything about this world, except that there's fairies living in it. That's it. I have no idea what the castle looks like that she was living in. I have no idea what her village looks like, where she came from. I have no idea what the rest of the world looks like. So yeah, and then like I said, the reviews I read, okay, so as I'm reading it, I thought, okay, this is obviously a young adult book. Like the first 224 pages that I've read, everything in me wants to tell you that it's a young adult book, but apparently there's this like really steamy sex scene somewhere in this book, which makes it more of an adult. So that is just confusing to me. I'm just cutting my losses. This year, I've decided to just start DNFing more, and I have been doing that, and I am enjoying that. I just prefer it if I just DNF a book rather than me forcing my way through it. Having said all that, I guess I could have just finished it, but like I literally fell asleep while reading this book. That is how much I don't care. I find myself preferring to do other things than read this book. And okay, so I put this book down to start my steamy romance vlog, which I'll leave linked for you. And like I easily read more than 300 pages in a day for that vlog. And this book has like the same amount of pages and I'm struggling through it, even though the writing is pretty easy. Like it's nothing difficult about the writing. Like usually if the plot was engaging, I would fly through a book like this, but the plot wasn't engaging for me. So yeah, Lore of the Wilds, as much as it pains me because this is one of the most beautiful covers I've seen in a while, it's just not for me. I'm gonna leave my bookmark in here. And I'm just going to continue on with The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee, I think. Let me see. I don't know. I'll have the cover here. I'm just going to finish that. If I still have time, if a part of me wants to continue on, maybe I'll continue on with this. But for now, it's a DNF and I'm fine with that. It does make me sad because obviously this is it's a diverse fantasy. Hopefully somebody else will love it because, I mean, obviously it is important to have diverse romances and books and fantasies, but this just, it wasn't for me, so, and that should be fine too. So yeah, I'll just update you once I read a little bit of The Veiled Kingdom. Okay, so I'm on page 155 of The Veiled Kingdom. So I'm 46% of the way through and I am really, really loving this. This book is so entertaining. I'm flying through it. So this is a romantasy about this girl named Naira, and she's the princess of this kingdom, but the king is very, very cruel. And apparently this is a fae world, and everybody is supposed to have powers, but she doesn't. So her father has been really cruel. We don't know exactly what happened, but it seems like he has been sort of torturing her to get her for her power to manifest. And so far it hasn't. Her mom died years ago and he immediately remarried to get another heir. She died because he wanted another heir who did have powers, and she was not supposed to get pregnant again because it was very dangerous, and she ended up dying because of it. And I believe a year ago or some time ago, this raid happened because of like this rebellion did a raid on the palace. And she ended up escaping. And she's been living on the streets for a while and barely surviving. And she had a friend on the street who did have magic because, like I said, everybody's supposed to have magic. And he gave her this rebellion tattoo, and the plan was for her to just escape out into the world and maybe find the rebellion and to escape her father. But instead, she ends up robbing somebody, and because of that, she ends up imprisoned with a member of the rebellion. And when this member's brother, whose name is Dacre, I guess, saves her, she begs him to save Naira too, so he does. And while they're going to their veiled kingdom, he notices the tattoo and he knows that it's fake, and he calls her a little traitor because she never joined the rebellion herself, but she did want to escape the king's clutches. He, of course, doesn't know that she's the actual princess. And the rebellion has been looking for the princess because they think that she's very powerful. Dacre and Myra immediately are very intrigued by each other. They find each other very hot, but they hate each other. He especially hates her because he hates liars and he hates traitors. He doesn't believe that she doesn't have powers. And he hates himself for finding her very attractive. And he is constantly being very rude to her, and he's just not a nice person to her. So of course she doesn't want to like him, but like I said, she's very attracted to him. And he of course needs to train her to become a warrior since she doesn't have any powers to aid in their kingdom. And like I said, I'm really, really loving it. Right now I'm at a scene where they're both at this spring where the spring can magically heal their powers. And like I said, it's very, very entertaining. Like I'm thoroughly entertained. Like I love their banter. I love their scenes together. I do have to say, the world building is very, very weak. Like, first of all, I didn't realize these people were fae until somebody actually said, "You're a fae," where I'm like, what? I didn't realize these were fae. Also, I still have a lot of questions. Like, I don't know how magic works in this kingdom. I don't know anything about this kingdom, really. I do have to say I'm reading it on ebook, and the map is not readily available for me at the moment. Actually, let me see. Yeah, no, it's not really a map. So yeah, like I said, I still have questions about this world. But as far as entertainment factor is concerned, I'm thoroughly entertained. Like that is really, like, can you compare it to like a real fantasy or even a lot of fantasy romances as far as world building is concerned? Right now, I would say no, because to be honest, there is no real world building. I mean, she does describe the hidden city, but to me, it's not really very clear as like what that city looks like. But like I said, the characters are very well developed in my, like, I am enjoying the characters and I am enjoying this romance. So I'm very much looking forward to reading more. I do love the fact that he really likes her. Like, he's very attracted to her. Like I said, he hates himself for that. And he's also very jealous already because there's this other guy who's been flirting with her and he gets extremely enraged. And like I said, he hates himself for that. So yeah, like I said, very entertaining. This is my first Holly Renee. The second book, I believe, comes out in July, and I'll definitely be reading that. I mean, if the second half goes as well as this one. But like I said, I feel like I'm flying through it. Like, I barely notice when I'm reading. I'm like fully immersed in the story, so that is great in my opinion. So I will be continuing on, obviously, and I guess I'll just update you once I finish, because I just got home from work and I immediately wanted to continue, and I had to force myself to do this update because otherwise the only update you'd get was at the end and I wanted to avoid that. So yeah, like I said, very much enjoying it. And I don't think you'll get another update from me until I actually finish it, unless there's a nice scene that I need to react to, but otherwise you'll just get my final thoughts on this book. I'm here to give you my final thoughts on the Veiled Kingdom and finish off this vlog. I figured I'm going out tonight, so I look decent for once in a vlog, so I figured let's take the opportunity to do my update now. Also, apparently I found my new favorite filming locations for vlogs, because in this vlog I filmed here a lot, but anyway, I couldn't really be bothered to set up another spot, so here we are. The Veiled Kingdom, I inhaled. Like, I read that book so fast. Like, I don't think I've read a book this fast in a while. I really enjoyed it, although I do have to say, so I finished it yesterday, and when I finished it, I was like, this is 5 stars. Without a doubt. Having had like half a day to think about it, it's not quite a 5. I'm gonna give it 4.5, not for the enjoyment factor, because as far as enjoyment is concerned, I gave it 5 stars. I enjoyed this book very much. Like I said, I read it very fast. I was constantly intrigued. I wanted to know what was going on with the romance. I really liked the hero, even though he was kind of a dick. But I mean, I kind of like asshole heroes. Like, I also really liked If You Hate Me by Helena Hunting, even though that hero is not nice, but I enjoyed him. Same goes for this guy. Like, especially at the end, he does something terrible, yet I don't know, I liked him. But everything around it, like, this is, like, objectively, this is just not a good fantasy. It's just not. I mean, I can say that, even though I still enjoyed it. The world building was not very well set up at all. Things were a little bit convenient, and also even the hero, like, so she has all these scars from everything her father did to her. It's like he noticed something when it was right in front of him, but when it was covered up or it was no longer in his presence, he kind of forgot about it. And I believe, I mean, that was glaringly obvious for him, but it was kind of that way for a lot of the characters, especially the hero. Like, he sees those scars and he's like, who did that to you? Which, of course, swoon. And then she puts on her shirt again. He completely forgets about it until the next time she takes her shirt off, and he's once again, who did this to you? I mean, if he really cared, he would have thought about those scars even after he saw them, you know what I mean? You know, those little nitpicky things, but especially the world building. I mean, this is, at the end of the day, this is a fantasy romance. And like I always tell you, like, the fantasy aspect has to be on par with the romance. Obviously, the romance is more important for me in a fantasy romance. If I don't believe the romance, usually the book gets 4 stars, even though the fantasy aspects are well done. The reverse has to be true as well. I don't want to give this book 4 stars simply because I enjoyed it so much. I read it so fast. I can't give it 4 stars. So 4.5 it is. And the 0.5 stars is because of all those things I just said. But like I said, I really enjoyed it. I really like the chemistry between them. And what I do have to say, this is mainly lust-based. Like, I don't really, like, there's not, she never really spent quieter moments with them. I mean, we had some quiet moments, but it always turned into something lustful. I don't believe these two love each other. And I don't think they are in love at the moment, but maybe in book 2, which book 2 comes out very fast. It comes out in July, so I'm very excited. I'm gonna be reading that very soon. This is my first Holly Renee. It will not be my last. I want to go back and read the other series she did. Something Kingdom, something. That made no sense. Let me actually look up what the book is called. Kingdoms of Stars and Shadows, something like that. Yeah, Kingdom of Stars and Shadows. I will be definitely reading that. I don't know how long this series is going to be, the Veiled Kingdom series. For sure it's going to be 2 stars. So for sure it's going to be 2 books. I would say I definitely recommend it, but I wouldn't really recommend it if you're like if you read a lot of fantasies and you're not really a big fan of romance, because you're not gonna enjoy it. This is mainly romance. If you are a big romance reader, then I think you will enjoy it, especially if you don't really mind that the world building is not that great. I mean, I do have to say I really love fantasies and I do pay attention to world building stuff like that. But in this case, like I said, it didn't bother me because it was so thoroughly entertaining. And I do have to say, like, this hero did like all the things that the TikTok girlies like, and I have to say that I like. So there was a crawl to me scene, he called her good girl, there was the who did this to you thing. It's supposed to be enemies to lovers, but they both find each other attractive like from very early on. Like that is established from very early on. So he kind of hates himself for liking her and the other way around. So, and I do have to say, it is kind of slow burn in a way that it takes a very long time for them to kiss, and then it takes a very long time for them to have sex. Even though that is all true, before that there's a lot of lustful thoughts and things. It's clear that they find each other very attractive. So yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it, but keep in mind, like, heed the warnings. If you are distracted by lack of world building, you're probably not gonna like it. So know that going in. But if you don't mind those things and you really are in it for the romance, I think you're really gonna like it. But then on the other hand, I do have to say it is mainly lust and not so much love, at least not in the first book. So also keep that in mind. And if you want to wait for the second book to come out, you only have to wait until July. So maybe I even suggest you do that, even though obviously I don't know what the second book is going to be like. But yeah, I am very excited. I will be reading book 2. Definitely let me know if you want me to read it in a vlog. I might do like a new releases vlog for it. But yeah, I very much enjoyed this book. And Holly Renee will definitely be an author that I'll keep my eye out for, because I think I will be enjoying her fantasy romances. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video of me reading the new release fantasy romances. This book was my favorite, I think, and then after that it was the Danielle L Jensen book, and then Lore of the Wilds obviously was a DNF. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you've read any of them or what your thoughts were. Also, if you have a new release fantasy romance that you really recommend, let me know, or any other fantasy romance or romantasy, leave those in the comments below. And if you don't want to leave anything, but you do want to say that you were here, leave me a sword emoji. And don't forget to like this video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.